Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about Ancient Warriors and the hype that is going to come with Blazing Vortex. Now, Ancient Warriors, quite a solid deck going forward. They've got some really good cards, predominantly a going second deck. However, with the new cards coming in Blazing Vortex, it's called Rebellious Lu Feng, which basically is a giant monster that can special summon itself from the hand as long as you control an Ancient Warriors monster with the highest attack. It has a quick effect that lets you pop the highest attack monster on your opponent's field, and you can activate this effect once per main phase, meaning you can potentially activate it twice during your opponent's turn if they decide to go into main phase 2. And the only drawback of it is it could potentially give itself control to your opponent if they control the monster with the highest attack. But if you're getting rid of all of your opponent's monsters, then that won't be the case. But what I'm giving you today is my deck profile for Ancient Warriors moving forward for remote duels. I'm going to attempt to be using this deck profile here until Blazing Vortex drops, and hopefully I'll be able to grab a copy of the new card to be able to use in remote duels going forward. Now, we'll start with the main deck. We've got 3 copies of Ancient Warriors Masterful Sun Mu. This one, while you control another Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent's monster can't target this card for attacks. And basically you can send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to add any Ancient Warriors monster from your deck to your hand, except himself. Also, if your other Ancient Warriors monster's effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can target one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand, which is some really good removal as a whole. Just a fantastic card and helps you get your effects moving. This effect will carry on for the other waters, but we're going to move on to the Ancient Warriors Virtuous Liu Zhuan. This one is essentially, it relies on your opponent controlling more monsters than you. It carries the same effect. It can't be targeted for attacks if you control another Ancient Warriors. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon an Ancient Warriors from your deck. And if an attack is declared involving your other Ancient Warrior monsters, you can draw a card. So again, very handy card. You don't want to be without this one. We've got 3 copies of Ingenious Zhuge. So if it's added from the deck to the hand, you get to special summon it. Pretty good. It can negate spell or traps by sending face-up Ancient Warrior spell traps you control to the graveyard. However, if you also control Liu Zhuan, you can negate monster effects as well by sending the Ancient Warrior spell or trap. We're on 1 copy of Graceful Zhugong. Now, this guy, you could run it either 1 or 2 copies or bump him up however you like, but he relies on you having a continuous spell or trap on your field. So you can target a continuous spell or trap you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, you can search any Ancient Warrior spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And if your other Ancient Warriors monster's effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn, which is pretty good. We're on 3 copies of Guan Yun. This guy is basically what people consider like the Pankratops of the deck. So if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon it. And if your opponent controls more monsters than you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It also prevents your opponent from targeting other Ancient Warrior monsters you control with card effects, which is pretty awesome. We have 2 copies of Valiant Zhang Dai. This guy, I'm potentially going to be bumping him down to 1 copy, as well as another card we'll be shortly mentioning. He gains 300 attack for each monster your opponent controls. And basically, if your opponent controls more monsters than he can declare 2 attacks on, up to 2 attacks on monsters, as well as the fact that he can special summon himself from the hand if you control 2 or more Ancient Warrior monsters. We've got 2 copies of Ancient Warriors Fearsome Zhang Yuan. So all other Ancient Warrior monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. And at the start of the damage step, if your Ancient Warrior monster battles an opponent's monster, you can special summon him from your hand. And if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. He's got quite a big body, 2300 attack, 2000 defense. Now we're on to our supporting engine. We're playing 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Fractal. So basically he can dump himself from hand or field to the graveyard to send a Tri-Brigade monster from your, or a Beast Warrior from your deck to the graveyard. The one you're normally going to be sending is the Tri-Brigade Narval. We've got 3 of him. He can search a Tri-Brigade when sent to the graveyard. The one you're usually going to be searching is Keras. The Tri-Brigades can banish Wing Beast or Beast Warrior monsters from your graveyard to special summon Link monsters from your extra deck of the same type that are equal to that Link rating, which is very, very handy in a deck like this. We're on 3 Skullmiker because I think the meta at the moment sort of asks for it. This can negate effects of monsters that occur in your opponent's graveyard, or in fact any cards that activate in your opponent's graveyard, which is pretty awesome. Now we're on to the Ancient Warrior Saga spells. So 3 visits, we're on 3 of this. During your main phase, if you normal or special summon an Ancient Warriors monster, you can target one of those monsters and add an Ancient Warriors monster with a different name from your deck to your hand. And if it in the spell and trap zone is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an Ancient Warriors from your hand. And it gets sent to the graveyard during your second standby phase after activation. Now we're also on 3 copies of Ancient Warrior Saga East by South Winds. This card, I think, is the most under-talked about Ancient Warriors spell or trap, just because it's so good. So essentially, you can send this card to your graveyard during your second standby phase after activation, and you can toss a coin once per turn. If it lands on heads, it gets sent to the graveyard. If East by South Winds is sent from the field to the graveyard, what you can do is apply this effect. Your opponent cannot respond to your Ancient Warrior card or effect activations for the rest of the turn, which is pretty good. Turns all of your Ancient Warriors into spell speed 4, and it also grants the effect of when your Ancient Warrior monsters battle, you can destroy a card your opponent controls non-targeting. This stacks, so if you're able to send multiple copies of this to the graveyard during one turn, each Ancient Warrior monster you control is going to be able to essentially pop that many cards. So say if you manage to send 2 East by South Winds to the graveyard, every time you declare an attack with an Ancient Warriors monster, you can pop 2 cards, which is insane. And your opponent can't do anything about it. Free Tenki searches your level 4 or lower Beast Warriors, pretty self-explanatory, as well as being a continuous spell to help proc your Ancient Warrior cards. 1 Tensu, because sometimes you need the additional normal summon. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, and 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. You can also potentially play 1 copy of Ambitious Saude, but he is kind of a brick. He's really big, he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if you control another Ancient Warriors monster. If the card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can summon him from the hand, and he has sort of like a Goyo Guardian effect when he destroys a monster. So it might be something that you'd like to consider. But let's not mess around, let's move on to the extra deck. So, 3 copies of Double Dragon Lords. This Link monster is pretty fantastic. You can summon it off your Tri-Brigades, although it won't get the search. It lets you search for any Ancient Warriors cards on Link Summon. However, it has a quick effect that lets you send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to bounce a face-up card your opponent controls back to the hand, as well as the fact that he gives all of your Ancient Warriors an additional 500 attack boost, which comes in clutch a lot more than you might think. His normal Link materials are 2 Beast Warrior monsters, including a Wind Ancient Warriors. Onto the Tri-Brigades, we're just playing 1 of each. You could even cut Rugal if you really want to. These just help push the game more in your favour. Shrike can non-target banish stuff. Ferrigit can bring your Ancient Warriors out of the hand, which is pretty cool. 2 Nightmares. We're on the 1 Boral Sword. 1 Ningirsu to help deal with Dragoon, Almirage, Baguska, and we've got Shark and Toad because Sunmu and Dugong are both water attribute level 4s. So, that has been Ancient Warriors. I'm going to be bringing this into a remote duel soon. I'm going to be testing out quite a lot, and I am very excited for Blazing Vortex where we can get the fantastic new Ancient Warriors boss monster. Thank you for listening, guys. Let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.